This is your first look, probably, certainly my first look, at the Panasonic DVX200. This is a new style camcorder. Really, it's the first in the world, which incorporates a fixed zoom lens and a large sensor. So we've got a micro four thirds sensor and a 12 to 167 mm zoom lens. The real advantage of this camera, and what makes it different to everything else on the market, is this combination of this fixed zoom lens with this large sensor. It means we don't have to carry around a set of a couple of lenses with us to go from wide to telephoto. So we can enjoy the sort of creative shallow depth of field effects you get from DSLR photography or large sensor cameras, but with the practicality of a run and gun shooter. So we're able to use this lens in a variety of situations, indoors and outdoors, even sports and events or wildlife photography, but also creatively. We could use this in film production for doing shallow depth of field, for throwing focus between actors. It gives us a huge amount of creative potential, and by making the lens integrated like this, they're able to take into account all the optical characteristics of it, so they can tune out things like chromatic aberration and really get the most impressive performance possible by optimizing the lens for the sensor. In addition to this powerful zoom lens, we've also got a 5-axis hybrid image stabilization system, which uses a mixture of optical and electronic stabilization. And the 5 axes means that it's not susceptible to sort of rocking backwards and forwards, as well as up, down, left and right movement. So we should be able to get rock solid shots without the need for gimbals or extra support like a tripod. So all in all, this is a large sensor camcorder designed for run and gun shooting or a huge variety of production uses. So with this fixed zoom lens, we're able to have things like neutral density filters, which are obviously very useful and very practical for being able to use that wide 2.8 iris on a sunny day at the beach. And here we have autofocus. Now, if this is anywhere near as good as Panasonic's traditional autofocus systems, we're going to be able to trust this for use in a variety of situations, even again when we're using really shallow depth of field. And there's a focus assist button which will give you a punch in, which you can move around the screen, and also peaking as well. So wonderful tools for focus. And if I show you, we also have one of their wonderful flappy paddle lens caps. Never lose your lens cap again. I love the look of the images out of the Panasonic cameras like the GH4 and of course the astonishingly good VariCam. And because this is a pre-production model of the DVX200, we can't actually show you the image quality, but I wish we could. The quality is astonishingly good. This also has V-Log recording or V-Log light recording, which is straight from the VariCam stable, which is a way of increasing its dynamic range. And they're talking about 12 stops. Now 12 stops might not sound fantastic, but it's a real 12 stops. You can see usable detail in all of the 12 stops of range, and not all manufacturers are totally honest about their dynamic range. So it looks very, very usable, all 12 stops, and the color rendition is beautiful. So I definitely would consider shooting V-Log all the time with this, although there's enough menu sophistication to really be able to dial in a baked-in look that you really want to create as well, if you don't fancy spending some time grading afterwards. But all I did was shoot V-Log and then dropped the VariCam lookup table on in a free copy of Blackmagic DaVinci, and I got fantastic results straight away without the need to fiddle too much in DaVinci in order to tweak the colors at all. So the UHD, the ultra high def, which this camera can record, is at up to 60 frames a second. So in PAL, we'd probably shoot at 50 frames a second. This is fantastic for the smooth motion you get with sports or anything with rapid motion. Now, of course, this makes it an even better run and gun camera, because when things are happening in front of the camera and you're shooting at 25p, if a bus goes past, it's going to look quite progressive, quite stilted as it moves across, but shooting at 50p you'll get none of that effect, and of course the ability to slow it down in post later if you want to. So Panasonic with the HVX1000 and with the AG DVX200 are the only cameras in this price bracket which are capable of shooting 4K at 50p. So as well as the HDMI 2 output, which will give us 4K at 50p and 60p, even at 422 10-bit, we can also get 422 10-bit out of our 3GB SDI here, our 3G SDI, although that's limited to 1080. So we've got a timecode in-out, so we can set the timecode for multiple cameras. We've also got a composite out, which must be useful for something. Also here you'll notice we've got remotes for focus and iris and zoom and start and stop. So we could turn this into a baby 4K studio camera with a couple of zoom and focus demands. There's also, here's the audio output for monitoring. Something else which has been really well thought out with the DVX200 is the quality of the monitoring. This flip-out touchscreen here has more than 2.7 million pixels. So it's full HD in quality when you're monitoring, and it's got an OLED viewfinder which also has over 2 million pixels. So I think about 1.7 million are used for the actual video area, with the rest for information. So incredibly sharp OLED viewfinder with gorgeous colour, and this brilliant flip out screen which is full HD as well. So the monitoring is top of its class. The DVX200 shoots onto SDHC cards, and now you need the very latest, fastest cards in order to do 50p or 60p UHD. So the bitrate is about 150 megabits a second. You get about 45 minutes on a 64 gig card, but the cost of these cards is coming down all the time. It makes it a very cost-effective way of shooting 4K, much cheaper than anything else on the market. The DVX200 has got another trick up its sleeve. It's got a macro focus mode. So using this, I can focus to 10 centimeters in front of the lens. And this is wonderful. Combined with that wide 2.8 f-stop and the neutral density filters, which I can just click in, I've just got such a choice in photography, whether it's going to be macro close-up or landscape. The DVX200 weighs in at 2.7 kilograms, which isn't a lightweight, but actually when you consider that you don't have to carry around all the paraphernalia that you usually do with shooting. There are no extra lenses with this, you use just the one lens. You know, it has one battery, powers absolutely everything. So actually, as a kit, it's considerably lighter than anything else you might be using. In addition to this, that ability to not have to change lenses is a real advantage if you're in dusty or dirty or sandy conditions. So there are lots of places where you could shoot with this camera where you'd be really worried about getting a lens off and exposing the sensor to the elements. In terms of low light ability, the combination of a wide 2.8 aperture and the large sensor in this camera means it's really going to be very, very good. The images I've seen out of it in low light conditions are excellent, very low noise, and also there's a high sensitivity mode where I can hear a filter moving inside, which could be the infrared filter, to give it that little bit more ability to soak up the pictures in low light without giving you noise. So I think in low light terms this is going to be an excellent shooter.